Good morning. Namaste, everybody. Jai Guru to all. Welcome to today's Satsang. The topic for today's Satsang is seeing God in everyone. Let us start our Satsang with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, Beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lehri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar Ji, Beloved Gurudev Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, Friend and Guide Swami Kriyananda Ji, Saints and sages of all religions, humbly we bow at thy feet. Beloved Divine Mother, teach me to feel thy presence in the temple of every thought and every activity. Finding thee within myself, may I find thee without in all people and all circumstances of my life. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let us invoke the presence of the Gurus by singing the hymn to Brahma and by doing one or two chants. Let us sing the Saint Teresa of Avila's admonition. Let nothing disturb you, nothing affright you, all things will pass, but God changes not. Patient endurance brings you to victory. Once you have God, you'll want nothing more. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. Let nothing disturb you, nothing affright you, all things will pass, but God changes not. Patient endurance brings you to victory. Once you have God, you'll want nothing more. God alone, God God changes not. Patient endurance brings you to victory. Once you have God, you'll want nothing more. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God, all we ever need. Let's open our hearts, our minds, our lives to the presence of the Divine. Let's invoke the presence of the God in our heart. And focusing at the heart chakra, let us feel His presence within our own heart. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for Thee. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for Thee. Wilt Thou come? Wilt Thou come? Just for once come to me, Lord. Wilt Thou come? Wilt Thou come? Just for once Let's meditate for about 4 to 5 minutes. As we sit in silence, gazing up at the spiritual eye, let us hear a few thoughts by Swami Kriyananda ji on consideration for others. Consideration for others is one of the marks of a refined spirit. Many people on the spiritual path feel that since it is within that they are seeking the kingdom of God, and since they are working at developing a spirit of non-attachment, it doesn't matter how they express themselves to others. Indeed, their inconsiderateness is an affirmation of their independence of the opinions and feelings of others. If God is pleased, they tell themselves, what matters the displeasure of man? Yet, by unkindness, we can never please God, who is all kindness himself. Sensitivity to others is a way of self-expansion. Only one truly achieves freedom in himself when he can respect others' realities, because he is wholly at peace with his own. Let us do the following affirmation, first loudly, then softly, in a whisper and mentally. By sensitivity to others' realities, I keep myself in readiness to perceive the truth, no matter what garb it wears. By sensitivity to others' realities, I keep myself in readiness to perceive the truth, no matter what garb it wears. By sensitivity to others' realities, I keep myself in readiness to perceive the truth, no matter what garb it wears. Interiorize this affirmation. Feel it with every fiber of your being. And affirm once again mentally. By sensitivity to others' realities, I keep myself in readiness to perceive the truth, no matter what garb it wears. Let us mentally follow this prayer. Divine Mother, I worship Thee in all Thy forms, both ignorant and wise. Finding Thee within, may I behold Thee enshrined in omnipresence. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let us have a few readings now.
Right. We will have reading from Rays of Divine Light by Swami Kriyananda. Week 50, Living in the Presence of God. Truth is one and eternal. There lies oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. In the Gospel of Saint Matthew, chapter 25, we read of a king, capitalized, for the reference is to God, who welcomes certain devotees to the divine consciousness, saying, I was an hungered, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in, naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. The elect asked him when it was they had served him in these ways, and the king answered, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto me, unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. To see God as residing in every human being, as indeed he does, is to open oneself to limitless opportunities for serving him. Paramahansa Yogananda, in Autobiography of Yogi, described a saint who lived in this consciousness as the greatest man of humility I ever knew. He described seemingly chance encounter with this saint. Another day found me this is from Autobiographic Yogi. Another day found me walking alone near the Howrah railroad station. I stood for a moment by a temple, silently criticizing a small group of men with drum and cymbals who were violently reciting a chant. How undevotionally they use Lord's divine name in mechanical repetition. I reflected. My gaze was astonished by the rapid approach of Master Mahashaya. Sir, how come you here? The saint, ignoring my question, answered my thought. Isn't it true, little sir, that beloved's names sound sweet from all lips, ignorant and wise? He passed his arm around me affectionately, and I found myself carried on his magic carpet to the merciful presence. If you would see God, watch for him everywhere. If you would hear his voice, listen for it in all sounds and also in their supporting silences. If you would know God, seek his wisdom behind merely human knowledge. The Bhagavad Gita in the 6th chapter states, one who beholds my presence everywhere and all things dwelling equally in me, he never loses loving sight of me, nor I of him through all eternity. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to my life. Om.
This next reading is from The Whispers of Eternity by Master Paramahansa Yogananda Ji. Demand to see God in everything. O Father, may I behold Thee above, beneath, behind, around, wherever I turn my gaze. Train the children of my senses never to stray from Thee, who dwellest at the heart of everything. Turn my eyes inward to Thy changeless beauty. Attune my ears to silence, that I may hear Thy subtlest music. Breathe on me the heavenly scent of Thy sacred presence. Orient-wise I will worship Thee, placing the candles of my 5 senses on the altar of my love. Thus I will contact Thee in the first pale shafts of dawn, absorb Thee in the bright light of noon, expand in Thee with the hidden glow of twilight, and merge in Thee in the silver moonlight. Always will I keep alight on my inner altar the mystic taper of my love for Thee. Thank you.
Thank you, dear ones, for these beautiful readings. We have all read in scriptures that we are a spark of the infinite. We are a divine child of the one common God. And Master used to give this allegory time and again about a gas burner. So he would say that, as gas comes in a large jet through the pipe of a gas burner, and then when it reaches the burner, there are many, many tiny holes in it. And the great jet forms tiny jets out of those little holes. Now, if we were to put certain chemicals on different parts of that burner, so some of the jets will get colored by red or green or blue or yellow, depending on the chemicals that we have poured there. And in fact, we can certain times introduce certain fragrances in the different colors. So here we will have a variety of colored jets with different colors, different fragrances, and anyone looking at the outset feels that these are separate identities and they have separate properties and appearances, and they cannot be one. But yet the underlying truth is that the source of all of those colored and multi-fragrant gases is actually one soul jet of gas that is coming from below it. Now, similarly, We can take many such examples. For example, there are so many varieties of pottery products. There are flower vases, there are jugs, there are types of cutlery, the kind of bowls. And so all of these things are different in their name, they are different in their form, they are different in their function in this world. And yet the common essence of all of them is that one clay from which they have been made. Similarly, we can take the example of gold and ornaments. So although we may find that necklaces appear different from rings, appear different from bracelets, appear different from other ornaments, yet in a sense, all of them are made of the one gold. Now, just look around in your room. You find that the fan is able to move, the bulb is able to glow with light, and your own PC or phone is able to have an audio visual data. Now, how is this possible? This is possible because there is one common power behind all of these, and that is electricity. Without that electricity, none of these things would function. And again, all of these functions appear different. Production of sound appears different than production of light, appears different than movement of the fan, and yet the cause is one common electricity. Now, the truth is also that electricity alone, without the instrument, will not be able to give us light or movement or sound or such a video signal such like this. So we need instruments. We need the fan, we need the light bulb, we need the sound mechanism. And only then is the electricity able to manifest itself into some presence. Similarly, divine consciousness or the Atman, which is omnipresent, is all powerful and the cause of everything, yet it needs a material instrument to manifest into this world. And all the human beings, and in fact, all creation, is that instrument through which God, the omnipresent consciousness, the formless infinite consciousness, though invisible to the eyes, does manifest into this world and then becomes visible to the eyes through our various sense organs. So it is the truth. It's just that our attention does not go frequently to this truth as to what is the cause of what is happening around us. Now, let me share with you a story. So there was this jeweler who had a gold shop. And one day some customers had come to his shop, and so he was busy. He sent his son with a key to the locker, and he said, son, why don't you go to the locker and get some gold from there? So the son went to the locker, he opened it up, he saw certain ornaments there, he closed it, and he came back to his father. He said, Father, there are only necklaces and bangles and rings there. There is no gold inside that locker. And the father explained to the child then that all the ornaments that you see, all the variety that you see is actually made of gold. So if you bring any of those, you will be actually bringing that gold to me. So the son understood, and then he got some ornaments, and of course it was gold. Now, similarly, so if we reject the ornament, can we find the gold? No. Similarly, if we reject the world, can we then find God beyond it? We have to go through this world and understand that its essence is God. Let me tell another story here. So again, there was this businessman who was quite rich, but over the years, his business did not do very well and he became bankrupt. All he was left with was a silver idol of Ganesha, a small little mouse, which is the vehicle of Ganesha, and a small laddu. So he thought, okay, let me go to the pawn shop and get some money against this. So he goes to the pawn shop, he gave it to the owner. The owner put all the three together on the weighing scale, handed him, made a parcel of money and handed it over to the businessman. And the businessman felt atrocious. He said, what are you doing? You think the value of the Ganesha is same as the value of the mouse and same as the value of the laddu? You are giving me this equal amount of money for all of them. And the shop owner smiled. He said, to you, this must be Ganesha or the mouse or the laddu, but to me, it is all silver. And one silver, one value. So again, the businessman understood. So what do we understand from this story is that, again, if we reject the whole, then we miss God. if we just keep the name and form and forget the essence, then also we shall miss God. So this means in our daily life that we do not need to renounce or reject the husband or the wife or children or our jobs or our daily circumstances to find God. Rather, we must find God in the husband or the wife or the children or our circumstances, our job and our daily lives. So we must do that. So according to this paradigm, actually, renunciation is definitely, it's not an outward act. It's an inward act of renouncing the differences, the superficial differences that divide people into caste, color, creed, size, shape, language, and so on, and to actually come towards that universal singularity, which is the cause of all of this. So it is very, very important that we train ourselves to look within. Let me read a saying from the Shwet Ashvatara Upanishad. The Upanishad says, "There is a spirit hidden in all things, as cream is in milk. And this hidden spirit is the source of all knowledge. This is Brahman, the spirit supreme." So one more story here. There was once a king. So, as is the tradition of telling story, once upon a time in a kingdom, there was a king. Now, this king was a good king. He was a righteous king. He was a religious king. He had a panorama of pandits and Brahmins in his court. And he was scripturally oriented also. So he said once that, okay, I have read in the scriptures that God is everywhere and God is within everyone. How do I find him? But I don't realize it. I maybe understand it intellectually, but I want someone to actually explain it to me. So he asks all the Brahmins and the Pandits of the kingdom to explain him this fact that how it is possible that God is everywhere and in everyone. So all the Brahmins, they kind of take out their scriptural books, they bring out quotations from the scriptures and they try to explain, see, look, here it is written such and such, this book it is written such and such. But the king is not satisfied because intellectually he's already heard this statement and he wants to understand the essence, the truth of it within his heart. Now, during this time, a wise sage who is traveling from one forest to another, and he passes through this kingdom. So the Brahmins know that he's a wise, realized master, and they approach him for his help. They ask him to come to the court and explain to the king how it is possible that God is in everywhere and in everyone. The sage says yes, and he is brought in the presence of the king to the court. So now he's standing there in front of the king and he asks one of the courtiers to get him a bowl of milk. So while the bowl of milk is being brought from the kitchen, the sage asks the king, says, "Okay, king, do you eat cream or malai?" The king says, "Yes." "Do you eat butter?" The king says, "Yes." "Do you eat ghee?" The king says, "Yes." In the meantime, the bowl of milk is brought in the court in front of the sage. And the sage points out to the milk in front of the king and says, "Do you know that all of what you eat and you like is coming from this milk? Can you see it?" So everybody's kind of, peeping into that bowl of milk that, oh, this is milk, but I cannot see the cream, I cannot see the butter, I cannot see the ghee. So the sage, he asks someone to actually light a small fire, and in a bowl, that milk is kept. And as the milk boils, the cream rises up. Then he asks the courtiers to churn the cream. And when the cream is churned, the butter appears. And then when the butter is heated again, then clarified butter or ghee appears. And so the sage says, just like cream, butter, and ghee are all present in the milk, but are not visible to our eyes. But with a certain process, they can be brought out. Similarly, divinity is hidden in all of us, and it can be brought out by first boiling ourselves with tapasya, austerity, contemplation, introspection, and karma yoga. Then churning ourselves with bhakti, and then reheating ourselves with Gyan and burning away the sense of separateness or the ego. And when all of this happens, then God in us is manifested. Divinity is within us. And finding God within us, we can find God everywhere. With this explanation, the king is satisfied. But the story stands separate, and our own realization stands a bit separate from it. And we too, just like the king, have this question: how is it possible? I know that God is everywhere. I've read it in all the teachings. But why is it that I don't recognize his presence, or why don't I realize that he is there? So there are many truths behind this. And the first cause which obstructs our understanding of the omnipresent God is, of course, the presence of Maya, which is also God created. And within Maya also, it is said there are 5 kleshas or obstacles that prohibit us from seeing and feeling that ultimate reality. What are these 5 kleshas? The first is avidya, or personal ignorance. So Maya is that cosmic ignorance that has been given by God. And then there is avidya, which is personal ignorance, means I do not know what the truth is. Then the second is asmita, the I-ness or the sense of separate existence that is present in creation. The third is rag. Rag means attachment. So it is our tendency that we get attached to things that we like, which give us a pleasant experience. We get attached to them and we want more of them, or we want more variety of that same thing. So that is called rag. The fourth is dvesha. Dvesha is aversion or dislike. So something which gives us pain, we start to dislike, and then we are averted towards it. We don't want to go in that direction. But this is a very, very problematic area, because sometimes we have a higher duty, a call of duty that we must do, even if we don't personally have a liking for it, yet it is our dharma to perform that. So this dvesha can cause and become an obstacle and prevent us from doing our dharma, and that would mean more and more karmic repository, that karma kosh starts to increase. So again, this is also an obstacle. And that is why most scriptures, in fact, all scriptures say that we must rise above our likes and dislikes. And the fifth obstacle that is talked about is abhinivesha. Abhinivesha is what? Clinging to bodily existence. So yes, we have entered into this world. We are souls, we are pure light. We are, through the instrument of the body and mind, we have entered into this world, but we forget who we are, and we think that the body and mind is the whole of it. And then we cling to it. We want to just hold on to it and not let go. So this is a major obstacle in understanding that we, the infinite soul, is not limited to the body and mind complex, and we as God are omnipresent. And that is why we need to go through the teachings of self-realization. Besides these 5 obstacles, there are other reasons why we are not able to realize God's omnipresence in daily life. And what are these? The very common sense things, actually. The first thing is, we want to see God through our senses. We want to see him through our eyes. We want to smell him. We want to listen to him. We want to taste him. We want to touch him. These are the data procuring devices that our bodily instrument has. And we think that we are going to grab God through these instruments. But the truth we know is that God is beyond the 5 senses. So we cannot go in that direction to find God. The other cause is that since we are born, we have conditioned to logically reason out everything. So we want to find God through our reasoning ability or through our intellect. And again, the truth is that God lies beyond the mind, thought, reason, intellect pattern. So we cannot find him, we cannot reason him through our mind. Now, this does not mean that the mind or intellect are useless for us. No, they are not useless for us, because first we need to purify the mind, and then the mind acts as a mirror in which the infinite Lord is expressed. Just like we through our eyes, we see the world, but can we see our own eyes? No, we cannot see our own eyes. To see our own eyes, we need the help of a mirror. And similarly, we use the mind and intellect to see everything. But if we want to focus light on the mind and intellect, then we need a mirror. And that is actually the presence of the Guru, which is a flawless mirror. And he shows us that the mind, the brain, and the intellect are not everything. It is the light of the Atman which illumines all these instruments, and that we are that pure soul. So we need to go beyond reasoning towards the sixth sense of intuition that is granted by the process of meditation. There is one more reason that we do not find God in daily life, is because, again, we have been conditioned in this bodily existence to see everything as an object, which is outside of us. So we want to find God as an object. The truth is, God is not the object. He is also the object, I would say, but majorly he is the subject himself. He is the observer, the seer, the experiencer. He is the divine witness. So he is pure awareness, formless witness consciousness. So he is the subject himself. He is you yourself. And therefore, because of our conditioning, we are unable to realize this simple basic truth. It is always available to us. We are always ourselves. We are always the Atman, but it is obscured by so many layers of the instruments of the body, the instruments of the mind, the kleshas that exist, then the delusory Maya. And yet, God has given us the free choice, the free will, and the intelligence to overcome all of that. When in our heart, we start to feel that all of this that I'm doing in this world does not give me the fulfillment that my heart yearns for, then our heart starts to seek the truth. And then alone, the Guru, according to the intensity of our yearning, he appears in our life. So what is the solution to all the problems that we just mentioned? It is that we already have a Sadguru in our life, that we need to attune more and more into his consciousness, because he is talking from that formless, infinite witness consciousness. He knows what that means. And he also knows what limited human consciousness means. So he is the only one who can create that bridge from little egoic human consciousness to Christ consciousness to cosmic consciousness, because he's already been there and he understands the woes of the human heart. So if we attune ourselves to the Guru, if we follow his teachings regularly, sincerely, if we listen to his voice again and again, if we look into his eyes again and again with an open heart, then it is he, his grace, who will allow us to see God within ourselves and in the entire world. With the Guru's grace, we will be able to feel God in every thought, in every perception, in every beautiful flower that we see, in the fragrance of a rose, in the power of the flowing water, in the power of the flowing wind, in the sun, in the moon, in the innocence of a child, in the generosity of Mother Earth, in the love and intelligence of all mankind. So with the power of the Guru, which is an omnipresent and omnipotent power, but just by attuning ourselves to that, we too can come to the realization that God is present everywhere, in everyone, and first and foremost, God is present within me. Now, there are certain, attitudes that we need to develop before this can become true for us. And what do you think would be these attitudes? The first is gratitude. The problem with us is that we are totally ungrateful and dissatisfied with the current situation of our life. We like certain people, we don't like certain people, we like certain situations, we don't like certain situations. Now that's the problem. Now the key to this, the solution is to be thankful for every person and every circumstance in your life. Thank God for all the loving relatives that you have. Also thank God for all the critical relatives and friends that you have. Because all the pain that you received through those instruments actually turned every time it turned you towards God's light. Every time you received pain from a critical colleague or a relative, you went within. You turned towards God. You bent down at the Guru's feet. So they are more of a blessing rather. All the painful circumstances and people in our life, who sent them? It is God who sent them. Is anything outside the will of God? Is anything beyond the will of God? Is anything happening to a disciple without the will of the Guru? No. So it is us who need to change our attitudes. We need to come to the gratitude channel. We are tuned into complaint channel. So if we tune our frequency to the gratitude channel, then we'll be happy all the time. We are thankful for every day of our life, every moment, every person, every circumstance. It sounds difficult, but there are no setbacks on this path. No, the setback may be temporary, that you are trying to be thankful, but then suddenly a situation arises where you kind of just crib about it and you complain. That may be temporary. Once you have convinced yourself that all is happening by the will of God and it is all for my best, for my freedom, for my enlightenment, then you will know that it is essential and easy rather to be thankful for everything that happens to us. So that is the first and foremost attitude. The second attitude that we need to develop is to do unto others what we want others to do unto us. This is very important, and we forget this very, very, very easily. So what does this mean? This means that instead of gossiping about others, being critical about others, and just talking behind their backs, it would be rather better if you could find and dwell only on the good in others. And regarding this, Nyaswami Jyotishan Devi would always give this example of a college scenario wherein there was a class in which every student was made to stand in the front, and the other students were made to list at least 3 good qualities about that person. How nice it would be if we, instead of looking at the dustbin of life, would rather look at the beauty of life. And every person, no matter who he or she is, has definitely some good qualities. So from today on, let us dwell on the goodness in others. And not only dwell on it, appreciate others. It's a very good heart-opening exercise that, sometimes you see a person and you think that, oh, he's looking nice, he's doing very good. And so instead of developing jealousy inside your heart, it would be nice to go up to that person and say, hey, you're looking so good. And Swamiji used to do that so often. He would, at the airport, he would go to a brightly dressed person and would say, thank you for dressing up like this. You've added color to my life. You've added brightness to the world. So it is so important that we appreciate each other's, which we ignore many a time. When will we appreciate them? When we are no longer here or they are no longer here, then we will think of them as good people. No, now is the time. Today is the day. Appreciate and thank all the people in your life. Then there are other conditions, other situations. There are times when people just need you to be around them. So simply be with them. Listen to them, share with them, care for them, give to them, be useful to the world. This is very, very, very important. Master said so many times that all the human love is actually based on usefulness. So if you want people to love you, be useful to them. And that doesn't mean that you just do superficial tasks for them, but that means from the depth of your heart, knowing that they are comrades on this path in this world, you actually love them, you be a true friend to them, and then be useful to them. It's very, very, very important. Then usefulness also lies in sometimes developing a lot of patience, endurance, and fortitude. So that means, see, the more you're trying to work up towards God, the more Satan also starts to get activated in your life. So definitely you will find situations and circumstances when you are going to receive persecution. And this is so much more true for the devotee and the disciple, as explained by Christ, as explained by Guruji. So persecution is going to happen. Your duty as a disciple and as a seeker of enlightenment is to stay calm, to stay centered, and be patient in that situation. So, once in the life of Ramana Maharishi, one of the devotees, came cribbing and crying to him and said that, my wife does like this and my children do like this and everybody around me is bad. And so I want enlightenment. I want to stay here. What do you think I should do? So Ramana Maharishi quietly said, increase your level of patience. Be more patient, and even more patient. And similarly, Master has told us to be even-minded and calm under all types of circumstances. He said, your test is to remain unshaken at the center of crashing worlds. So are we there yet? Have we achieved that yet? If not, then we have some homework to do. We have more attunement to do with our Guru. We have to increase our practices even more. We must follow this path. And remember, there are no setbacks. Another final quality that we'll discuss is forgiveness. Just like we forgive ourselves for the silliest and the most grave mistakes, we must forgive others because they are part of our expanded self. There are no others. They are us. The one Paramatman, the one Atman, actually, pervading all. That common gas jet, that common electricity. There are no others. Therefore, we must forgive them as we forgive ourselves. Now, the interesting thing is what will happen? Now, if we've developed all these attitudes, we are in tune with the Guru, and we start to realize God within ourselves and around us, then what are the changes that are going to happen in our life? The first and the foremost is that since you see everybody as your own expanded, extended self, you can hate no one because everybody is yourself. Then you automatically will start loving everybody because you understand the underlying unity underneath beyond all the superficial differences. So you will start to love all. And also, along with this, what will happen is you will stop fearing anybody. So you will move in the direction of fearlessness. Why? Because you don't feel the necessity of protecting your little separate ego. And fearlessness is deathlessness. It means, in a sense, it means enlightenment. The day you have no fear about anything, you're kind of enlightened. And then when you have no fear, when you have transcended your ego, what will happen? You will automatically transcend all the karma. Why? Because all karma is attached to the post of the little ego. When I think that I am the doer, then all the karma I do, all the response of that, all the reaction, all the fruit will come to me. But if I have transcended my separate existence, then even if a boulder was to be falling on me as a separate person, if the little I is not there, the boulder will still fall, but I will not be there. Because I would have understood that this all is God's drama. And therefore, I will transcend all pain. And what would that mean? That I will start living a fulfilled life. Even while in body, we will start to feel fulfilled and happy all the time. And our very life will become a blessing to others. We all want this, don't we? And then through and through, in every action, in every thought, in every feeling, in every sense perception, we will start to see God through and through and live in Him all the time and live in His joy. That means we will completely realize our oneness, not only with everybody else, that as we are not a separate individual, we are also made of that same God substance, and that we too are walking and living gods. There's this, interestingly, a saint used to tell all the people who used to come to him, and he would speak in Hindi and he would say, "Tum jano ya na jano, tum hi Ram ho. तुम मानो या ना मानो, तुम ही राम हो. और यही सत्य है. You know, remember one story that Master used to tell about a devotee who brought some flower petals to shower on the idol in front of him. And then he was so much in deep prayer and meditation that he started to shower those petals on himself. Was it a farce? No. It came from the realization that the power in those idols is the same power within me. All of this is one. God is one, realized by the grace of a true Guru. So just coming towards the end, let me share 2-3 incidents from Guruji's life, which tell us that how he loved everybody, how he never resented everybody, and how he could see God's presence in each individual. So once, this is a time when he was in Los Angeles, and the mission was beginning. It was the early years of SRF. And he needed some financial help. So there was this religious teacher in LA who helped him financially. But she kind of started to feel that, she owns him, and sometimes she would speak to him in a friendly manner, but sometimes that friendly manner would change into an insulting manner. So, but Master never minded it. Master was always calm with her. Master was always respectful to her. So whatever she gave, in return of that, Master only gave her love and understanding, because he was speaking from a higher consciousness. So we too must do that. If somebody is disrespectful towards us, we must understand that they are speaking from their level of understanding and consciousness. But we as devotees and disciples and seekers and yogis, we must speak from a higher zone of consciousness and respond appropriately. Another time in Master's life, he was addressing Dr. Lewis, and he was saying, God loves you as much as he loves me, because he is our one common father. Now, we must understand that also. And Master is not just saying this to Dr. Lewis, he is saying it to all of us, that God loves us as much as he loves Master, or all the avatars, all the saints. All we need to do is open ourselves to the ever-flowing grace that is ever present. And one more incident that I remember reading is about when Master's legs were hurting, and because he had taken the karma of so many disciples. So there was a period of time when he could not walk, and people had to actually lift him into a car and out of the car. And he would, tell the disciples that, oh, you are so kind to me with all your attentions. And the disciples would say, no, Master, it is you who is kind to us. And then Master would smilingly say, God is helping God, and this is all God's cosmic drama. So when we live from that center of truth, we also understand this. And it is our duty to do that. And consciously understanding that why we are not able to see God, because of the senses, the mind, the obstacles, and consciously with the help of the Guru, trying to transcend all these difficulties by developing the right attitudes, by doing the right techniques with a loving heart and an open mind, we shall be there. We shall see God within ourselves, and seeing him within ourselves, we will be able to see him everywhere. So let us end, dear friends, with this verse, which is commonly known to people. And the meaning of this verse is this, basically is from an Upanishad, and it relates the relation of the Atman with the Paramatman. And it says that from the whole and perfect Paramatman has come the whole and perfect Atman, and it is one and the same. And this is all one whole complete. Let us say this verse together. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamujachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnamevavashishyate. Om. From this zone of prayer and meditation, and feeling the presence of God within us, let us share the power of these wonderful teachings with all souls everywhere. Pray with me. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in all bodies, all minds, and all souls. Let's rub our hands together. Send out healing from our heart, from our spiritual life, from our hands by chanting 3 Oms. Om. 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 Divine Mother, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you, dear friends. Go out with love and joy. May God be with you always.